Welcome to Indie Business Club, the podcast for independent creatives, freelancers, founders, and business owners. He's Ben McKinney.
And she's Mel Barfield. And we're both copywriters and business owners sharing tips and advice we've picked up along the way. This episode is called Bloc Party, and we're talking about celebrating wins. On the show, we'll discuss why it's important to mark milestones, ways we celebrate our wins, and how to use your wins in your marketing.
And as always, we have a voice note on today's theme, and my favourite part of the show, Your Friend and Mine, where we shout out someone we think is great.
Now, Mel, the topic is celebrating wins. And what better episode to have the first of 3 partner messages for us? So this is a little milestone for Indie Business Club, isn't it?
It is a little milestone. And please insert some kind of noise to celebrate that for us.
I want the little bit in.
Okay, Ben, please do your very professional, this is an advert that we're trying to pretend isn't too adverty voice.
Today's show is supported by the Pro Copywriters Conference.
Okay, a bit less advertising.
Well, regular listeners will have heard us mention CopyCon before. Rumour has it, Mel, that you spoke there last year.
I don't like to talk about it too much.
Anyway, we're both heading to the next CopyCon, aren't we? Which is in Manchester on October the 2nd and 3rd, 2025. The main conference day is on the Friday the 3rd. And Leaf, who organises the Pro Copywriters Conference, has very kindly given our listeners 10% off tickets, including all the bundles. You can buy the day bundles and all the extra training. If you head to copywritingconference.com and use the code IBC10, that's IBC10 at checkout, you'll get 10% off the price of your tickets.
As well as getting your discount, Indie Business Club also gets a little slice of the price at no extra cost for you, which we'll put towards our production bills, as always. So again, the website is copywritingconference.com and the code is IBC10. Hope to see you there. Right, now we've got that dirty advertising out of the way, where we've sold out. Now, I'd like to think there's an incredibly...
We need to get a bit more comfortable with selling on this show, don't we?
Can I just say that is like the most aligned ad we could possibly do, because we've already mentioned CopyCon several times during our that wasn't like we weren't fishing, Leaf, promise. So that is very on brand for us to be talking about conferences.
Yes, but we have turned down sponsorships as well, haven't we, in the past? So I think we wanted to bring in, if we were to accept sponsorship, we wanted it to be obviously companies that we want to be a part of, or brands that share our ideals. And CopyCon, or the Pro Copywriters, which Leaf organises, we're very much involved in talking about it, aren't we? And anytime they have a little initiative, we always get involved, because it's important, I think, and it raises the standards of the industry, and it's the rising tide thing, isn't it? Lifts all the boats.
Absolutely. That was a good covering our backs to try and show that we have integrity.
Tell me how you celebrate your wins, Mel. I think you're better at this than me.
I am very good at celebrating my wins. I celebrated my very first win, which was having my first invoice paid as a freelancer, by buying my keyboard that has informed all my branding colours. So I started my win celebrations big. I went big. And yeah, I don't know. Some people celebrate every tiny win, and I can see why. But it can get quite expensive. I know people who go out for meals, they treat themselves to business equipment and stuff. sounds like a right treat, doesn't it? Business equipment. I think that was why I bought my mic, actually, my nice mic that hopefully is sounding great. I think we'd got to a certain number of episodes, and it's like, oh, maybe now I'll invest in something decent. But yeah, conference tickets. Reward myself by booking a conference. It sounds a bit tragic, doesn't it? Sounds really sad.
No, I don't think so, because the flip side is somebody like me who I don't always build in that kind of either time for celebration or reflection, or I mean, it's not like a case of getting new clients celebrate by buying something. Yeah, I'm pretty naff at it, and I think that's a bit tragic as well, because I think you then are in danger of just kind of plodding on and almost never stopping and looking at what you've achieved and recognizing that you've done a good job or done something really well. So no, I don't think it's tragic at all, celebrating wins. It's something that I think at the start of this year, I remember thinking to myself that this will be something to do. It's like a goal of the year, was to try and kind of recognize where I had done well, or the business had done well, or our podcast had achieved something, and kind of mark that moment and celebrate it. So we're going to talk about that a little bit more, especially in the context of Indie Business Club, aren't we? Because we're coming up at the time of recording to almost a year of actually proper Indie Business Club. And so I think we should...
Has that gone quickly for you?
Yeah.
Are you trying to work out what the right answer is?
No, I
There's
think
no wrong answer.
It's been one of those years that when you look back, so Creator Day is a good little marker, I think. Creator Day was the end of April 2024, and we took some pictures because we were together for Creator Day. You brought your camera and we took some photos to use in Indie Business Club branding. So I think we'd only just decided on the name, or maybe we hadn't even decided on the name at that point.
I don't think we had. I think we decided on the name after we got Ant's jingle samples through. But
at Creator Day, he sent them through while we were there, didn't we? So we listened to them in the evening after the conference. Cool. So that feels like a little marker. And if I think back to Creator Day last year, that doesn't feel like that long ago. But actually, if I then think of all the stuff that we've done, and personally, obviously, finished a house renovation and we had a baby, like all of those things make it feel like quite a long space of time that year. Like it's been a long year in a good way. But yeah, no, I think this is part of the reason why celebrating wins is important, I think, because it gives you the context of time as well. And that is something I'm, my relationship with time.
It's flaky.
Not great at.
Does that make it more important then that you do recognise things? Otherwise, this vast emptiness of time and space is not marked by those celebrations.
Yeah,
I think it's hard to celebrate, especially when you're in the business. It's really hard to kind of take that step back. That's why we quite like having CPD days and business planning type days.
Yeah, and I think it helps with motivation as well. I think if you run your own business, you can get caught up in not that it can become a drag, because if you love what you do and you're good at it and the work that you do is fulfilling, then it probably doesn't ever become a massive drag. But actually, if you're just doing all of the time, that is draining. And I think I've definitely found in the past that motivation levels can rise and fall, and a lot of it is just because it is just like a constant treadmill. And I think what the celebrating does is actually just, you stop for a second, don't you? And it doesn't have to be long. It doesn't have to be like a 2-day event or a trip somewhere, or it can just be, but it can just be setting yourself, like if you had a goal of something and you've achieved it, like giving yourself permission to either treat yourself within the business with something that you don't necessarily need but you want. I think that's probably important. I would always preach fiscal discipline when it comes to running a business, but it may be that you think, no, I've done this, I'm going to treat myself within the business or outside of it, however you do it. But no, I think it's...
You're thinking about getting a new mechanical keyboard, aren't you, Ben?
No, I need another monitor.
Excellent influence on you.
This might be the time to admit that I just work off a laptop all the time and don't have an additional monitor. And people keep saying to me, I don't know how you do it.
You've outed yourself as an amateur.
It's going to change my life, apparently.
It is going to change your life. Change mine. Yeah, I mean, as a business owner, just as you're saying about having being stuck in the business and working on it, you don't have anyone to tell you, except you have me to tell you, that it's time for a personal development review and like to give you pep talks and give you a pat on the back or pat on the head when you've done something well. So you kind of have to try and build that in for yourself. And that's one of the things that people celebrate on LinkedIn, is like their follow count and things like that, that from the outside might look a bit vain or silly or meaningless. And Ben, for the benefit of people listening rather than watching, Ben is nodding so hard I think he might have given himself whiplash. But that's those kind of meaningless milestones. I think they are worth celebrating, because, as I say, you don't have somebody doing regular check-ins to see how you're doing, unless you've got a business coach, of course. So having those really specific milestone achievements, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think you can celebrate that.
Well, I think as well, to touch on your point, you don't have anybody to tell you you're doing a good job often, do you, when you're running your own business? Hopefully your clients do give you that feedback at some point. But even if you do a really good job for a client, it may be that the transaction ends and that's it. You know, the project finishes.
That's what the money's for.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Don Draper. But you move on and they move on. So maybe you don't get that little stroke, that well done, you've done a great job. And you can go through life, if you work on your own, kind of not hearing that. So it kind of goes back. We did an episode on awards, didn't we? And whether you put yourself forward for an award, or if you're nominated, what does it actually mean? But actually that can be the little celebration, can't it? Just somebody to say, hey, you've done a really good job. And even if you don't get that from somebody else, actually stopping and looking back and kind of telling yourself that you've done that you've done a good job.
The act of filling in the forms, or
yeah, exactly. There's a reward. There's a reward at the end of it, and that can be really uplifting. So yeah, it's a good thing.
Yeah, I also sometimes justify purchases by going, well, I'll just tell myself that was like if I want to buy a new dress to go to
personal
an
purchases.
Event, not like in a tax avoidance way or a tax efficiency way. I just mean like, oh, well, I kind of that can count as my reward to myself for speaking at CopyCon, for example, or other stuff. You know, getting a big project in. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'll have a takeaway. Have a takeaway tonight because I got that big project in. Just building in little rewards to give yourself a little pat on the back. I like it.
Yeah.
What are we going to do for our 1 year anniversary of Indie Business Club? We're going to do some karaoke, aren't we? Maybe we should do a karaoke of the songs. We mentioned that when we went to karaoke previously.
What, from the playlist?
From our playlist of episode titles.
There's some
Bloc
challenging
Party.
ones.
Which Bloc Party song would we do? Helicopter.
Whoever gets the flaming lips is that's the short straw, isn't it? Or Bjork. You can do the Bjork one. You've got a good voice. You make the point is that, especially if you work for yourself. So we say that the people that listen to the show are either independent creatives or small business owners, and you may or may not have a team. But if you work on your own, then it is hard to kind of almost, I've found this. So I've literally worked on my own for a big part of the time when I've been self-employed, and it's changed a bit now. But even the way it works now, where I work regularly with you and I work regularly with Dave, you and I live 100 miles away from each other, and Dave is literally on the other side of the country to me. So the times that we actually physically get together are few. And I think
great times.
But it makes it, then we kind of, Dave and I have said this since the very start, really, like we need to get together, I don't know, every 2 or 3 months to do two things. One, to work together, but also to kind of mark the progress and celebrate what we've been up to and how far we've come. And that has been really valuable. We always get more work done when we're together, and it's always a really nice, refreshing time because we're able to kind of think, haven't we done well? This is great. And then have a little, even if we just have a little beer in the evening about it, then it still then gives you that little thing.
I feel like we should update listeners who are invested in you and Dave having a spa day. They did have the spa day, and I got to go along as well.
Got a lot of work done. We're just like to point that out.
Most of it was work.
Yes, but that itself was a little celebration. I think that was, we call it our 6 monthly AGM. And it was a celebration, and it was an important way of getting work done together and making some decisions and moving everything forward. So, yeah, it definitely works. And it's something I really would like to do more of, and kind of thinking about milestones. And within Copy or Die, we've got a project which is just finished. We haven't really marked it in any way. And we've got a big one which will finish, I think, at the kind of mid to end of April. So in about a month's time as we're recording now. And I'm kind of already thinking, like, what do we do to mark the end of this? Because that will be a year-long project, literally a year. We started at the end of April last year. It was for a year. We're coming up to the end of the year. It may carry on in a different form, or it may just end. Either way, we should we should do something to kind of market, and because we've done a lot of work in it and it's been a big part of growing the business. So yeah, I'm trying to be a bit more proactive in thinking about it.
Are you going to meet Dave for a curry? You like a curry?
I don't mind a curry. I don't know Dave's views on a curry.
I mean, I thought you'd both done... Anyway, I thought you'd done that when you first decided to set up Copy or Die.
We did actually. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that is true. Yeah. This isn't the Copy or Die podcast, Mel.
This is not the Copy or Die podcast. What are we gonna do for Indie Business Club turning 1? Should we get some merch?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Listener, let us know if you'd like some merch.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
We've been threatening laptop stickers, little vinyl stickers of our logo for quite a while now. Maybe we could sling some out into the listenership. Anyway, we'll work on that. Please do let us know how you celebrate your own wins, by the way. You can email us on, Ben, what's the email address?
It's show@indiebusinessclub.com. Yeah, we'd love to hear from you.
Because I feel like when we were prepping for this episode, I couldn't think of as many things as I would like as like the ways I celebrate wins.
That
I'm quite good
me. Yeah,
I know.
That's what I said at the start of the show. In my head, you are much better at this than I am, because I was doing the same. I was thinking, how do I celebrate stuff?
But you know what I am good at? I'm good at turning milestone-y type things into my marketing. And I think that's perhaps why you think I'm always celebrating. Because
I remember one of your celebrations.
What was it?
When you won your award at the back end of last year, you bought yourself something, didn't you?
Oh, it was my Remarkable. I forgot about that. How could I forget you, beautiful thing? Yes, my Remarkable Paper Pro was... See, this is what I'm talking about, justifying purchases. Is like, I'm going to call that my celebratory Remarkable. Sadly, Remarkable are not one of the other two partners that have joined us to promote Indie Business Club. That was. I totally forgot that was.
Because I remember you being on the fence about it. You'd said before, I quite fancy a Remarkable. I'm not sure whether I can get one or not. But then after you won,
it's a good excuse.
Your Woman in Marketing Copywriting Award.
For tone of voice, yeah.
For tone of voice, yeah. I remember you saying, I'm going to celebrate by buying myself a Remarkable. I thought that was great. I thought that was a really good thing. And you're using it in your business and you love it, don't you?
I'm using it right now for our show notes. I often use the wins as marketing stuff. So I, slightly tongue-in-cheek, would do like 10k things to celebrate 10k followers, but then the things were things that started with K. Ways to kind of celebrate a win without being too gross about it. But yeah, bagging a big project, getting repeat work with a client, signing a retainer client, that's always a win. Sending your 100th invoice. We've had the goal of 10 testimonials. We have now hit 10 testimonials for Indie Business
There you go,
Club.
something else to celebrate. We've got past 20 episodes, which felt like a big thing, didn't it? I think we kind of patted ourselves on the back when we got to 10, and then we're really happy with ourselves when we got to 20.
Yeah, I think especially because, like you said earlier, you've had so many changes in your life. I've not had big changes, but like business-wise, it's got busy this year, this last 12 months, or so, like since we started the podcast. Oh, maybe those two things are correlated. We'll just call that the ROI of doing a podcast. And so, yeah, I think I know some podcasts put out an episode every week or two a week, or they're more prolific in putting episodes out. But I'm pleased with us. I think we've done well. Yeah. If you're listening to this as your first ever episode of Indie Business Club, you're probably not very impressed because I'm now going, aren't we great? We've done
well. If you are listening for your first time, welcome. But also go back and listen to the episode.
Now, where do we want people
to
start?
Goal setting, I think, is a good one it's a good companion piece, as I like to call it, for this episode. Because
is it far enough into our back catalogue to not be one of our horrible, embarrassing early episodes?
One of the cringy first few episodes. Yes, it is. I think it's in the teens. I can't remember off the top of my head. But goal settings came to my mind because I think for a long time, when running my own business on my own, it was just a plod of stuff that I had to do and was doing. And there wasn't really any kind of new goals or replacement goals in place. And I think that probably links back to then not really feeling like you have anything to celebrate. Whereas if you set a goal and work towards it, hopefully you achieve it. But even if you don't, there's that thing, isn't there? When you know, if you set a goal and work towards it, you're still further ahead than you were before you set it.
Make the actions your goal. As
that was
Janine
the voice
said.
note from Janine. Yeah, that was a really good one. And I still think about that, actually, that phrase. That's what another thing that doing the podcast has brought us, isn't it? We wanted the opportunity to speak. We wanted the opportunity to kind of get booked for stuff. But actually, we've got loads of really good tips and bits of advice from other really good indie business owners that I think about and use a lot. And so that one was a good one. And I think nowadays I'm much better at setting goals for the business. That's been a big development in me, I think, over the past 2 or 3 years. And actually, when you do set them, then you do feel like you've got something to celebrate when you achieve. So yeah, kind of goes hand in hand. So
many of our topics we talk about overlap, don't they? Because to have a win, it helps to have a goal to begin with.
Yeah.
And to be able to celebrate that win, you need to be reviewing that goal or reviewing your target or reviewing the business or whatever. Can I give you another little celebration thing that I told you about the other day? That we had a lovely testimonial in from somebody saying that they'd listened to every episode. And at the point that they sent that, we'd done 19. And I added up and worked out that equaled 11 hours and 42 minutes and 37 seconds of
us
podcast,
talking.
Not including our B-sides. Not including the waffle that poor Ant has to snip out. I thought, oh my gosh. And because it was... I think we'd also seen a post about someone having a 10-hour journey. And I was like, I wonder if we've got enough episodes for somebody to literally start listening. I'm not recommending that they do, but listen to our podcast the entire length of that journey. And we did. I thought it was quite cool. Let's celebrate that win.
I think we might start to grate on them by hour 9 or 10. back to back.
Stop interrupting Ben, Mel, for God's sake. So how are we celebrating Indie Business Club turning 1? We've got stickers and karaoke. I think those are good ways.
Yeah.
We're not sending everyone cake like Steve from Being Freelance did. Sorry, Steve.
I was very impressed by that. Yeah, that seemed like a big effort.
Cake was good, yeah.
Is it a good time to hear from our voice noter today, Mel?
It is. Today's voice noter is Anita Ellis. And Anita is a copywriter and brand messaging expert at her business Lexicom. That's double M on the end. Anita is a highly commended copywriter who, like me, writes for Freelancer magazine. So we're basically twins. But she's more organised and with nicer hair. Let's hear what she has to say about celebrating wins.
Hey, Ben and Mel, it's Anita. So I celebrate big wins or milestones with cake or Prosecco, or sometimes both. In fact, I've actually got a rule in our house that we must always have Prosecco in the fridge. And on Lexicom's business birthday, we always have cake. A tradition that's actually started by my hubby, thank you, John, who bought me a cake with my logo on it for my first ever business birthday in 2021, and I've done it every year since. And at Christmas, I take all my employees, i.e. me, and their partners, i.e. hubby, out for a posh lunch. But I also think it's important to celebrate the teeny weeny wins too. My business coach is really good at getting me to write down what I've achieved each month, and it's amazing how much easier it gets when you get into the habit. I've also got a copy of the 6-minute diary, and every evening I have to write down 3 great things I experienced today. This little hack sort of tricks my brain into focusing on the positive stuff instead of replaying the things that I could have done better, because, you know, our brains are a bit like grumpy teenagers. They go straight to the negatives and need a bit of coaxing and cheerleading. And I've been using the 6-minute diary for a few years now, and I've realised that celebrating the weenie wins genuinely helps to quash. Oh, that's a lovely word, quash, isn't it? Helps quash my imposter. I think in general, we could all benefit from a bit more celebration in our lives, even if it's just a cheers to this, or actually, I'm really proud of myself for that. We don't really need an excuse to celebrate stuff. There are wins everywhere when you look hard enough. And yes, in case you're wondering, I will absolutely be celebrating being the voice note on your podcast as a massive win. So thank you. Bye.
Oh, that was a lovely voice note. Thanks, Anita.
That was so nice. I like it when people are really grateful. It feels nice.
There was loads of good stuff in there. I've taken 2 or 3 things, and like cake and prosecco is a great way to celebrate, because we've talked about buying stuff, haven't we? Or like going to a conference. All of those are quite big things, aren't they? It could be quite costly, but actually just the small act of treating yourself to something nice and just marking it with a glass of whatever you like to drink. That's a really good one. And then the 6-minute diary. I remember Anita mentioning this in a LinkedIn post ages ago and thinking, sometimes you think to yourself, I just don't do that kind of thing, but actually maybe I should. So that is, I've never ever done that. Yeah, I think I would too. And I would find the habit difficult to get into, I think, and the regularity of doing it every day. But I think if I could, that could be a really positive thing, because I don't focus on those good things at the end of days. I think sometimes I will more often than not focus on I didn't get this done, or I didn't quite get around to this. But actually, I always do accomplish stuff at work every day, because I'm like always working, always really busy. There's always stuff that I've done, and actually just something little like that I think would be a good thing for me.
Like a little gratitude journal. Yeah,
a little bit. And like she mentioned about her business coach, so we've mentioned friend of the show, Phil Budd, before, who I work with. And when I do my 90-day check-in with Phil and the group that we go to, the first part of it is always looking back and celebrating wins. And it's taken me about probably 2.5 years of going to that to take that bit seriously. Because I'd always be like, I'm, pushed for time, a little bit late. I'll just get in. I don't have to worry about that. Everybody else can do that bit. And the first couple of times I hardly wrote anything down, whereas I am getting better at thinking what has happened in the last 90 days and what's been good and what can I present to the group as a win. So, yeah, really good. What did you take from that?
Well, it reminded me actually that Jodie Newman, in her business allotment, she each month asks us, what are you sticking up on the shed wall? She uses lots of shed
nice.
and allotment analogies. Like what has gone really well, and it doesn't need to be anything huge, but it's just that monthly reminder of like, actually that thing went really well. And then conversely, there's the what's going on the compost heap. What did you just want to forget? So I really like that little part of because often you don't. And often I'm there like going, oh, God, what has gone well? And I haven't necessarily acknowledged or thought about what's gone well that month. And so the process of having her ask me is really helpful to remind me of the good bits.
Yeah.
What's gone
well.
And
a quick shout out to John as well for, branded cake for the first anniversary.
He's so lovely. I got to meet him. And he's such, I know Anita's posted about him before as being such a supportive partner for her in life and business. So you can find Anita on LinkedIn. It's Anita Ellis, Ellis, and at lexicom.co.uk. Excellent use of the word quash as well, Anita. You can tell she does words good.
Yeah, we'll link to both of those in the show notes. Should we round up on wins? I felt like I wondered how deep we'd go in this episode. And I've got to be honest, I was prepared for it to be almost like a little psychology dip into Ben and why he doesn't celebrate himself. So I'm glad we've kind of brushed across that.
Ben, why do you find it so hard to acknowledge when you're doing something well?
No, I don't need to talk about it now, because I have already kind of got in my head after this show that I'm going to celebrate more wins. And I'm going to get that little 6-minute diary.
I want smart goals.
Well, but you know that I've set goals for this year, certain goals, and I've probably already achieved. I haven't reviewed them, so I think I've achieved one already. Haven't marked it, so I haven't reviewed it and haven't achieved it. But even just like my brother went to France a while back and brought me back. I asked him to get me a bottle of champagne. They went to Champagne. I said, "Can you get me a bottle of champagne from a little independent chateau?" So he brought me one back, and it's been in the cupboard for like, I don't know, 6 months. I'll tell you, in fact, I'll go even further than this. So this is not all about drinking. As you know, I'm not a big
you do love
drinker of alcohol, but I do like champagne. And so that's one thing. Like, I'm going to put that in the fridge, and at the next time we achieve something, and it doesn't have to be work related. It might be like family related or whatever. But I think we're going to open that bottle of champagne and have a nice little glass of champers with Mrs. McKinney. But another thing, my dad used to work for a wines and spirits company. I think I've told you this before. And when he left there, he had 6 or 7 bottles of really expensive whiskey, like 300 quid a bottle, kind of expensive. And I took one and said to him, this is like 20 years ago, I'm going to open this on my wedding day. And I didn't. And then I said, I'll open it when we have a child. And I didn't.
3 kids later.
We've had 3 children now, and I haven't opened it for any of them. And I think that is just, so not to go deep into the psychology of it all, but that is the kind of thing I'm just brush it off and kind of move forward. So I'm not saying I'm going to open that expensive
You're going to
bottle.
get really drunk tonight.
Yeah, champagne and then
not clocking
and
in
then
for work
whiskey.
tomorrow morning.
Champagne and then Johnny Walker Blue. There we go.
Now, I don't drink anymore, but we did talk about Courvoisier before the show. I can't remember why. A nice cognac. Yeah, it's nice and easy if you drink to celebrate, because you're like, oh, I'll buy a nice bottle of wine. But now it's like, oh, well, I'll buy a nice bar of chocolate, maybe.
There you go.
Or fancy, or like appetizer, which you need to remortgage for normally because it's quite expensive.
Tony's chocolate only?
Yeah, I like a bit of Tony's.
Yeah.
Please feel free to send
Just
me
good copy.
Tony's chocolate only.
Other chocolates are available.
Other chocolates are available.
We have to start saying that now that we're getting sponsors.
I know.
People start to think
Maybe
that we're just,
BBC.
product placement everywhere.
Like that bit in Wayne's World where they're just gratuitously like opening a Pepsi at a really inopportune moment. Other
Yes.
colas are available.
And it's the choice of a new generation. Is it time for your favourite part of the show?
It is. Take it away, Ben.
It's time for Your Friend and Mine, where we shout out someone on our artwork who we think is great. And today's friend of the show is the lovely Jen Sands. Jen is an online business manager and wing woman to entrepreneurs looking to scale and revitalise their business. If you're a small business owner and there's just not enough hours in the day, then Jen and her team of change makers and time reclaimers will help you create, systemize and manage, allowing you to do what you do best. And Jen is another one of our biggest supporters, isn't she? She's supported us since we were doing the LinkedIn Lives. She's been a real she's always getting in touch and telling us she enjoys the show, and she contributes financially occasionally as well, which is we are incredibly grateful for that, aren't we? And it's just lovely to know that people enjoy what we do. So thank you, Jen. You're today's friend of the show. And that'll do for today. If you're enjoying the show, there are a few ways you can support us. Don't forget, you can head to copywritingconference.com and use code IBC10 at checkout to get 10% off the price of your tickets. And that will mean that we get a few pennies to go towards our production costs. You can subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Amazon, you can leave us a review.
And we're both on LinkedIn. I'm Mel Barfield and he's Ben McKinney. So do connect with us there. And we've had some lovely testimonials in, as we mentioned. We'll always welcome further testimonials so that we can brag about the show. So if you are enjoying it, then it's show@indiebusinessclub.com.
And if you're really enjoying the show, you can buy us a coffee at ko-fi.com/Indie Business Club. Ko-fi is KO-FI, and every penny of your donation helps us to keep making the show. That's enough for today, isn't it? Thanks for listening, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.